normal world. Because, she thought, this is what becomes of the mother of a murdered child. She would never have guessed there would come a time in her marriage when she could no longer talk to Zach about Corey. But it was true. She just couldn't. And she couldn't stand by and witness his struggle. He still tried so hard to be a good father to Corey, even now. He posted remembrances. He donated picture books to the library in her name. He tended her grave. It was too painful for Aaron to be around him all the time. Despite everything, he seemed to be still alive inside. Stricken but living, able to work, able to function in a basic practical sense. She couldn't bear to see him day in and day out, wearing his sorrow like a wool sweater, forcing himself to carry on with the meaningless trivialities of day-to-day life, trying to be the husband she needed. She didn't welcome his attempts to console her, and she wouldn't listen to anything he had to say. So he'd agreed to live away from her for a while. For the last few months, he'd been staying at his brother's house. Dan and his fiancée Maggie lived in nearby Nederland, and they too were hovering in a holding pattern, because how could anyone continue with their plans now? But Erin would try her hardest to make a plan for this day. The therapist who ran her grief group suggested a timeline on which she could mark her progress. "Make it round numbers if you want," Dr. Tanner had said. "As neutral as simple addition, so there's no emotional charge. Just days adding up to a milestone." 500. My God. Imagine them adding up to a turning point in the future, he'd said. But how? That was the question. How could there be a turning point when all the days that gathered on the floor at her feet were so much like the ones before? She took her phone from the pocket of her sweatpants and checked to see if it was still too early or if it was time to call Zach yet. 9:20, June 20th, 2021. A symbol for clear skies and a current temperature of 78 degrees. She decided to wait until 9:30 to call, stick to the schedule. Zach had been checking on her several times a day until she'd asked him to stop. It made her feel like his patient, so they'd agreed on a schedule. In the morning, she called him at the designated time, and they said their designated things, and that was it for the day. This was the last pattern left in her life. Coffee, call Zach, creep through the hours until the dark comes back, sleep until the dark splits open and the light crashes in. To fill the sliver of time, she got up, took her pen and notebook from the counter and sat again at the island. As she flipped open the notebook, light fell across her engagement ring. It had slipped to the knuckle of her third finger. She'd lost weight, and the ring was too loose now. Zach had already dropped off her wedding band at the jeweler's to be sized, but she wouldn't let him leave her engagement ring with a stranger. She slid it back into place and tipped her hand in the light so the sharp little diamond would scatter flecks of spectra across the granite. When they were still at Berkeley, Zach had had the ring made and then kept it hidden from her. One night he asked if she would like to go out for dinner, telling her he had fulfilled a major step toward his astrophysics dissertation, and he wanted to celebrate. At the time, she wondered if he would remember it was also the anniversary of the day they'd moved in together. Zach kept their destination a surprise, refusing to tell her anything even as he parked at the curb, gave his keys to an attendant, and led her to the entrance of a building marked only by a number. To the right of the doorway, an intercom shone blue at eye level. Zach pushed the button. When a voice responded, he said, "Fullerton, party of two?" He smiled, guilty and happy, like someone caught wrapping a present. "What is going on?" Erin said, relishing the fun of his ruse. "Nothing special." He laughed out loud then, sounding so pleased with himself. A young man in a black cotton uniform appeared and opened the door for them. The air inside smelled of something savory and of rosemary, maple, and wine. "Oh," Erin said. "I know where we are." She'd heard of the secret restaurant and the fortune it cost to experience it. She squeezed Zach's hand. "Are you out of your mind?" "Yeah, probably." He pulled her into a quick hug.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.